Illinois and came up with an idea that probably wasn't too popular with the wives at first. He said, you know what I was thinking, and by the way, you know when you see the pictures of the gray beards and stuff, these guys were young, they were in their 20s, they're giving land away out west, and they said, hey honey, you know what I think we should do? Give away all your dishes, give away your piano, the nice sofa, take the kids out of school here in Illinois, sell our house, pack everything we own into a wagon, cross a dangerous trail for 9 months or a year, and then we'll go live in the forest and I'll build you a log cabin and it'll be wonderful. And the women were like, what? The Denny Party women, they weren't fleeing anything, they weren't, you know, religious persecution or anything like that. Their husbands just wanted adventure and they wanted to build a new city, and the women said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We will go in your covered wagon, and we will move to the pine forest in the middle of nowhere, 2,000 miles away. But we are going to do it in style. There will be manners on this covered wagon trip. We are going to dress every day for dinner. We are going to set the table with our china. There will be linens on this covered wagon. It's going to be all very nice. And so the first 3-4 days, that's exactly what they did, until a storm came and blew the top off their wagon and got all their linens dirty and their bonnets all floppy. And they said, all right, plan B, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pack away all the nice china and linens, but when we get to where we're going, we will have manners again, and we will unpack the china and linens and have a civilized life in the middle of the pine forest here. So they came across, they get to Portland, and they said, well, why don't you send someone up ahead where we're going, and then he can build a log cabin, get it all set, and then when the women get there, they can unpack the china and have a nice civilized life. They send the guy ahead, David Denny. He's one of the Denny Party. And he comes up here. So finally, after that, the women come. They come in this boat. It's November 13th, 1851. It's low tide, but you know what? They've got all their fashion on. They've got their bonnets finally unpacked and starched all up in nice, so nice bonnet style going on here. Very fashionable. They're civilized again. They're dressed. They're ready to make their debut on the new land here. Well, it's low tide, so they have to hike up their dresses and kind of trudge through the mud. It's cold, it's rainy. Pretty soon their bonnets are all floppy because you've been in Seattle, you know what happens in the rain. Not going so good. Finally, they're like, where's this log cabin? There's David Denny sitting in. He's got the cabin all built except for one small thing, no roof. He's got just walls set up. They're like, you've got to be kidding me. The women break down in tears. So if you've heard this story, the women landed and they cried. There's pretty good reason for it. Thankfully, Chief Seattle was there with his Native American tribe, and he gave the women blankets. He realized they had babies with them. He wanted to make sure they were safe. So things started off kind of shaky, but, you know, they surveyed this area, and they said, well, you know, I think we're going to run out of trees in this area. We kind of want to get into the lumber business. And so they crossed the area, and Pioneer Square, downtown Seattle, that's where they decided to set everything up. Now, they've got one thing to do. They've got the Denny Party. A new guy comes over. His name's Doc Maynard. He's from Ohio. And he's pretty smart. He says, you know what, we need is a blacksmith shop. So he builds the shop. First blacksmith that comes into town, he said, here's your blacksmith shop. Anyone who needed something, he just kind of like built it for him, and then here you go. Get it all set up, and let's get some things going in town. Let's make this a city. Next thing they have to do is they have to register the city name and lay out the streets. They get down to Olympia to register the city name, and the clerk says, all right, we've got this registered as Dewamps. That's the name of your city. How'd you like to be a Dewamper? How'd you like to root for the Dewamp Seahawks and the Dewamp Mariners? So they said, you know, I don't think we want to be Dewamps. You know who we should name this after? The man who's been around to help us for all these years, Chief Seattle. We are the only major American city named after a Native American. The only major American city named after a Native American. Next thing they have to do, they name the city, they have to set out the streets. Arthur Denny says, I've got this. Guess what my profession was in Illinois? I laid out streets for a living. I was a surveyor, so I know how we're going to do it. We're going to lay the streets parallel to the water, and all the streets are going to be like that. Doc Maynard says, now hold on, I'm no street surveyor, but I've looked at a map before, and I think streets ought to run north-south by the compass. And Arthur Denny says, you don't know what you're talking about. We're all along the water. We've got to lay them parallel, or everyone's going to get lost. Doc Maynard says, nope, I'm going down to the office, and I'm going to register them north and south. You can do what you want. Well, we have a map inside of your menu, and if you want to see what happened, you can see exactly what happened. Half the streets run parallel to the water, And roughly where Doc Maynard's land begins, the streets run north and south. So if you have ever been lost in Seattle, you now know who to blame. That would be Doc Maynard and Arthur Denny, who could not agree on how to lay out the streets. Interesting little story there. And again, looking at the street names, that gives you the best idea of Seattle's history. All the original pioneers seem to have a street named after, so that's your key to Seattle history. Early explorers, the British sailors, all your mountains and big bodies of water are named after them. And then the pioneers in the 1800s, all your streets and things like that are named after them. So there's your little shortcut to the maps and the history of Seattle. Well, we tempted you earlier talking about Fisher Stones and Fisher Flour, the ones who bought the radio station so they could advertise Fisher Flour. Their famous product is a product called Fisher Scones. We're going to actually be passing by the Fisher Flour plant in a few minutes, and I'll point that out to you. But in the meantime, we have some strawberry shortcake made with the Fisher Scones, which your servers will be bringing out. These are not Marshall strawberries. They would be spoiled long before we even started talking today. But they are some local strawberries. We hope you enjoy. And in a few minutes, we'll be pointing out the Fisher Flour plant and talking a little bit about the modern history of Seattle.
Yeah.